Everyone talks about Luis Figo's betrayal of Barcelona, the fans' outrage, the protests, the infamous pig's head thrown onto the pitch. But that wasn't the first time a player crossed the forbidden line between Barcelona and Real Madrid. Before Figo, another star had already taken that path and helped Real Madrid put an end to Barcelona's golden era. Michael Laudrup, one of the greatest players of Cruyff's Barcelona era, won 4 La Ligas and the club's first ever Champions League. But after falling out with the manager, he decided to get his revenge in the worst possible way. How did Laudrup go from hero to traitor in Spain? In this video, we'll look back at other betrayals that shook football. Johan Cruyff swapping Ajax for Feyenoord, Campbell becoming Tottenham's biggest enemy, and of course, Figo facing the wrath of the fans after joining Real Madrid. And there's more. I'll show you a player who, despite crossing one of football's biggest rivalries, managed to achieve something almost impossible, keeping the respect and admiration of both sides. Let's start with the story we mentioned earlier, Johan Cruyff. Cruyff was the heart and soul of Ajax, the biggest name in total football. But in 1983, he shocked the world by leaving the club that made him a legend for their biggest rival, Feyenoord. He wanted to end his career at Ajax, but the board let him go. Feeling disrespected, he made an unthinkable decision, signing with Feyenoord. The backlash was immediate. Ajax fans called him a traitor, while Feyenoord supporters welcomed him with suspicion. But Cruyff answered in the best way possible, by leading the team to a historic season, winning both the Eredivisie and the KNVB Cup, including a crushing 4-1 win over Ajax. Time healed the wounds, and Cruyff eventually returned to Ajax as a manager. But his betrayal made one thing clear: underestimating a legend can have irreversible consequences. And this is just the first story. Stay until the end of the video to see how Michael Laudrup left Barcelona for Real Madrid and destroyed the team he once helped build. Now, let's move on to the second case. Robin van Persie joined Arsenal in 2004 at the age of 20. Arriving from Feyenoord, under Arsene Wenger, he transitioned from a left winger to a center forward, taking on the main goal-scoring role after Thierry Henry's departure. In the 2011-12 season, Van Persie was named club captain and had the best year of his career, scoring 30 goals and finishing as the Premier League's top scorer. But despite his incredible form, Arsenal continued to struggle for major trophies, leading to growing frustration. In July 2012, he announced he wouldn't renew his contract, citing disagreements over the club's future. A month later, he was sold to Manchester United for £24 million. Arsenal fans saw this as a betrayal, burning his shirts and venting their anger on social media. At United, Van Persie made an instant impact, scoring 26 Premier League goals. He was a key player in the Red Devils' 20th league title. His decision brought him silverware, but also left one of the biggest scars of betrayal in Arsenal's history. Luis Enrique wore the Real Madrid shirt for 5 seasons, but in 1996, he did the unthinkable. He left the club on a free transfer to join Barcelona. If the move itself was already controversial, his attitude afterward made him one of the most hated players in the rivalry. At Real Madrid, he helped win La Liga and the Copa del Rey, but he was never seen as a key player. Feeling undervalued and without a convincing renewal offer, he crossed the rivalry without looking back. Madrid fans never forgave him. He left without bringing any profit to the club and went on to strengthen their biggest rival. At Barcelona, he found the recognition he was looking for, became captain, and played a crucial role in the team. But what truly fueled the rivalry were his provocations in El Clásicos. He played with maximum intensity and celebrated goals against Real Madrid with pure passion. adding to the hatred from the fans. At Barca, he won 2 La Ligas, 2 Copas del Rey, and years later returned as a manager, leading the team to the treble in 2015. For Real Madrid, he will always be a traitor. For Barcelona, he is a symbol of the rivalry. Sol Campbell was a symbol of Tottenham, a captain and a fan favorite for 10 years. But in 2001, his story changed forever. With his contract running out, big clubs like Barcelona and Manchester United showed interest, and Spurs fans feared he might leave. To reassure them, Campbell famously said, "I don't know where I'm going, but it's definitely not Arsenal." But as Tottenham struggled on the pitch, Campbell grew frustrated. He decided not to renew his contract and shocked everyone by joining Arsenal for free. Spurs lost their captain without making a penny, and the fans erupted in fury. In his first game against Tottenham, he was met with deafening boos and banners calling him Judas. Fans burned shirts with his name, and he had to avoid going out in public to escape their anger. At Arsenal, Campbell shone, won titles, and became part of the legendary Invincibles. But nothing erased the betrayal. To this day, for Tottenham fans, he remains a traitor who will never be forgiven. Remember the bonus I mentioned at the start of the video? It's time to talk about a player who, despite switching between rival clubs, was never seen as a traitor: Clarence Seedorf. In 2002, he did what many would consider unforgivable. He left Inter Milan for AC Milan. Normally, such a move would result in hatred and boos. But Seedorf achieved something rare in football. He kept the respect of both fan bases. At Inter, Seedorf showcased his talent and scored unforgettable goals, like his 2 screamers against Juventus in a thrilling draw. But despite his brilliance, the team failed to win major trophies. So, when the opportunity to join Milan came, he didn't hesitate. At Milan, he joined a squad full of stars, including Pirlo, who had also left Inter, and made history. He won 2 Champions League titles, 2 Serie A titles, the Coppa Italia, and the Club World Cup, establishing himself as one of the most respected midfielders of his generation. Unlike others who crossed the divide, Seedorf was never hated by Inter fans. His professionalism, class, and achievements secured his place as one of the few players to shine on both sides of Milan without losing anyone's respect. Maurice Johnston was at the center of one of the most controversial transfers in Scottish football history. A Celtic idol, he scored 72 goals and won trophies, becoming a symbol of the club. After 3 seasons, he left for Nantes in France, but years later, he publicly confirmed he would return to Celtic. The fans celebrated, believing their star striker was coming home. But then came the shock. Johnston broke his promise and signed for Rangers, Celtic's biggest rival. The backlash was immediate. Rangers, a club historically associated with Protestantism, had never signed a Catholic player before, making the move even more explosive. Celtic fans called him Judas, burned his shirts, and vowed eternal hatred. Meanwhile, Rangers supporters were divided. Many refused to accept a former Celtic player in their team. The tension was unbearable. Johnston needed private security, was harassed in the streets, and became one of the most hated figures in Scotland. But on the pitch, he delivered, helping Rangers win titles and gradually earning the respect of some fans. At Celtic, however, his name was never forgiven. For their supporters, Maurice Johnston will always be remembered as the biggest traitor in the club's history. João Moutinho was Sporting's captain and symbol, a homegrown talent seen as the leader who would bring the club back to its glory days. But in 2010, he did the unthinkable. He left Sporting directly for Porto. The news shocked the fans, and the backlash was immediate. Moutinho broke into the first team at a young age, became a key figure in midfield and earned the status of a leader. But as time went on, the trophies never came, and the club struggled financially. Frustrated, he watched as Porto and Benfica dominated Portuguese football, while Sporting remained stuck in place. Behind the scenes, his dissatisfaction kept growing. Sporting's crisis deepened, and in 2010, everything changed. For 11 million euros, the club's captain swapped green and white for blue and white. It wasn't just his departure that shocked fans, it was the club he chose. For Sporting supporters, a captain and academy product should never strengthen a direct rival. The reaction was furious. Moutinho was branded a rotten apple, and every time he faced Sporting, the boos were deafening, but he didn't flinch. At Porto, he thrived under Villas-Boas, playing a crucial role in the club's historic treble in 2011, which included the Europa League. Years passed, and Moutinho built an international career. But for Sporting fans, the wound never healed. His name remains synonymous with betrayal. Ashley Cole was a gem of Arsenal, a homegrown talent promoted to the first team at 18 by Arsene Wenger. Fast, technically gifted, and defensively solid, he became one of England's best left-backs and a key part of the Invincibles, helping the club dominate the Premier League. But in 2005, his story with Arsenal took an unexpected turn. Without informing the club, Cole was caught secretly negotiating with Chelsea. The scandal was massive and led to heavy fines. £100,000 for him, the same amount for his agent, £300,000 for Chelsea, and even Jose Mourinho had to pay £75,000. Despite the controversy, he renewed his contract with Arsenal, but the relationship was already broken. The following year, tensions escalated. Arsenal demanded £25 million for his transfer, while Chelsea only offered £16.5 million. The negotiations dragged on until the final day of the transfer window, when Cole finally made the switch to Stamford Bridge. For Arsenal fans, there was no doubt he had left the club for money. The backlash was instant. In his first match against Arsenal, Gunners fans held up fake £20 notes with Cole's face on them, mocking him with the nickname Cashley. Meanwhile, at Chelsea, he thrived, winning multiple trophies and cementing his place as one of the greatest left-backs of the Premier League era. Years later, Cole claimed he had forgiven Arsenal, but the fans never forgave him. To them, he will always be remembered as the player who betrayed the club that raised him in exchange for money and success with their rivals. Roberto Baggio was Fiorentina's biggest idol, carrying the team for 5 years and leading them to the UEFA Cup final. But in 1990, everything changed. Juventus made a massive offer, and Fiorentina's board decided to sell him. The fans' reaction was immediate. Outrage, protests, and chaos took over Florence. Bricks and Molotov cocktails were thrown, leading to dozens of violent incidents and arrests. "I did everything I could to stay," Baggio said, but his words weren't enough to calm the fans' fury. When he returned to Florence wearing the Juventus shirt, he was met with deafening boos. During the match, he won a penalty but refused to take it, saying the opposing goalkeeper knew his style too well. The most unforgettable moment came when he was substituted. On his way to the bench, a Fiorentina fan threw a purple scarf. Instead of ignoring it, Baggio picked it up, held it to his chest, and waved to the crowd. That gesture was seen as an insult to Juventus fans, who never fully embraced him. At his first training session after the incident, 300 supporters showed up to protest against him. Despite winning trophies and becoming one of Italy's greatest players, Baggio was never truly loved by Juventus fans, and the pain of his departure was never fully erased from Fiorentina's history. Luis Figo was Barcelona's biggest star, one of the best players in the world, and the face of the team. For 5 years, he was a key figure, winning trophies and even claiming the Ballon d'Or in 2000. But that same year, He did the unthinkable. He left Barcelona for Real Madrid. The Catalan club was struggling financially and couldn't meet Figo's salary demands. At the same time, Florentino Perez, a candidate for the Real Madrid presidency, saw the Portuguese star as the perfect player to lead a new era at the club. He promised more trophies, more prestige, and a massive contract. In the end, the offer was simply too good to refuse. Barcelona fans reacted with pure fury. In Figo's first game back at the Camp Nou as a Real Madrid player, the stadium turned into a cauldron of hatred. Deafening boos, coins, bottles, mobile phones, and even a pig's head were thrown onto the pitch, making that El Clásico one of the most hostile in history. But while many remember Figo as Spanish football's greatest traitor, few realize that he wasn't the first to do this. Before him, another player had already crossed the divide from Barcelona to Real Madrid, and in doing so, he helped end the Catalan club's golden era. That player was Michael Laudrup, and his story is even more incredible. Before we get to the most anticipated story of the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and drop a like for more content like this. Michael Laudrup was one of the great architects of Barcelona's dream team in the early 90s. With his magical passes and impeccable vision, he helped the club win 4 consecutive La Liga titles and their first ever Champions League. At his peak, he was one of the most admired players at the Camp Nou. But in 1994, everything changed. After falling out with Johan Cruyff, Laudrup made an unthinkable decision. He left Barcelona for Real Madrid. The Danish playmaker was a key figure in Cruyff's revolutionary project, but over time, his relationship with the coach deteriorated. In the 1993-94 season, he lost his place in the starting lineup due to the foreign player limit. The breaking point came in the Champions League final, when he was left on the bench during Barcelona's humiliating 4-0 defeat to Milan. Feeling discarded, he chose a path that few would dare to take, signing for Barcelona's biggest rival. The backlash in Catalonia was immediate. For Barca fans, this wasn't just a transfer, it was a betrayal by one of the symbols of the dream team. But for Laudrup, it was just football. At Real Madrid, he quickly proved he was still a game changer. And in his very first season, he helped the team win La Liga, ending Barcelona's dominance. He always denied any intention of betrayal, but his move to Madrid forever changed his legacy in Catalonia. In football, some decisions change careers. Others change the way a player is remembered forever.